A young man vanishes without a trace. Concern turns to terror when the ransom calls begin. Police and the FBI battle a brutal drug cartel, uncovering a deadly crime ring that will do anything to get what they want.
Chicago street gang thought they had figured out how to kidnap people for ransom again and again and never get caught. But their one mistake was they underestimated the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. Agents teamed up with one of the victim's brave relatives to break the ruthless gang who destroyed lives for profit.
June 27th, 1996, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 90 miles north of Chicago on the western shore of Lake Michigan. "17-year-old high school senior Jaime Estrada and his cousin Roberto Alvarez pulled up outside a convenience store on the city's south side. Jaime went in for sodas, leaving Roberto in the custom Monte Carlo Jaime and his brothers owned.
So what's going on tonight?
The store was a popular hangout where they often met friends. When Jaime came out, he spotted a girl he recognized. Jaime had been wanting to get to know the girl more and went to talk with her. A catcher in local baseball leagues, Jaime was a popular kid. As Roberto was talking with a friend, he noticed the van pull away. He figured Jaime had left with the girl and would probably be right back. When Jaime had not returned after more than an hour, Roberto began to worry. Something was wrong. So Roberto decided to see if Jaime had gone home. He told Jaime's brother Paulo what had happened and found he had not come home.
What's going on? Jaime's been missing for now.
No one had heard from him since he left. It was not like Jaime to run off, leaving his cousin and his car. His parents tried to figure out what to do.
And then I've been waiting there for an hour, he still hasn't come back.
Let's go look for your brother right now.
They decided to split up and look for him in separate cars.
Go together, hang out in your car. No.
His mother stayed home in case Jaime called. The family searched the area for hours. Then, Jaime's oldest brother, Mark, received a page. The area code was 312 Chicago. After the phone number was 187, Jaime's personal code. Then, 911. It was an emergency. Mark stopped at the first phone booth he saw. He hoped Jaime was all right. A man answered, a voice he did not recognize. He said they had kidnapped Jaime and wanted $70,000 for his return. The man said they were serious and warned that if the family did not follow instructions, they would cut off Jaime's ears, skin him, and send body parts in the mail. And if anyone went to the police, they would kill Jaime and the entire Estrada family. Mark was in disbelief. He called the number again. Maybe it was a prank. No one answered.
I didn't hear from anybody.
Jaime's father returned home. His wife said no one called. They were all getting frantic. When Mark came back, he told them about the call, the kidnapping, the threats. Mr. Estrada wanted to call the police immediately, but Mark told them the kidnappers would torture Jaime. They'd kill him.
We should do this.
We can't go to the
Gotta
police.
call
They
police.
said if we go to the police, that they're gonna cut off his ears, they're gonna skin him, and they're gonna mail it to us. He said,
The family did not know what to do.
Take your box.
They struggled with the decision all night, waiting for another phone call. But none came.
We're not waiting anymore.
By dawn, Mr. Estrada could wait no longer. He needed to help his
We
son.
need to do something. We got to call the police.
It had been more than 9 hours since Jaime was last seen. Mr. Estrada decided that he and Mark would go to the police. They had to take the chance. At the Milwaukee Police 2nd District Station,
yeah, the area code.
Mark and his father explained what happened to a detective on the violent crime squad.
I called them and they said that if we went to the police, that they would cut off his ears.
Since this was an armed abduction that crossed state lines from Wisconsin to Illinois, the police called in the FBI.
Okay,
At the Milwaukee field office, FBI Special Agent Dan Kraft had just arrived at work.
I was sitting at my desk and I received a call. An 18-year-old kid had been kidnapped.
Kraft had to act quickly.
I met with the victim's father and his older brother and tried to take a detailed interview of them based on what had happened, when it had happened, potentially why. I realized that this was going to become a major case.
Back at the Estrada house,
Why, who is this?
Jaime's brother Paulo answered the phone.
Who is this?
It was the kidnappers. The man on the phone changed the ransom to $30,000 and also wanted the Monte Carlo.
What are you talking about?
He said they could prove their threats were serious. They had shot Jaime. Jaime confirmed he was shot.
Jaime!
He was hurt, bad. He pleaded with his brother to hurry.
Yeah?
Jaime!
Still, the man gave no details for a ransom drop. The man said they'd call again on Paulo's cell phone.
Hello? Hello? They shot Jaime.
They shot him?
They want $30,000.
Paulo told the others the terrifying news.
Come on in, have a seat over here.
Paulo met his father and brother Mark at the FBI office.
What we're trying to do is take control of this situation.
Agents immediately tapped Paulo's cell phone since the kidnappers said they would be calling it next.
make sure you finish this down. Automatically start the recording before you answer the phone.
They also attached a recording device and tracing system to the Estrada's home telephone.
First thing you need to know is that that this is the only phone that's going to work with.
As the FBI continued to set up, they kept interviewing the family, not wasting a second in gathering information.
One of the first things that we did was set up what we call a rapid start. It's a computer database that helps us to manage a major case. We utilized rapid start to put in all the information that we had received at this point. Every little data point that we would come up with, even if it was partial.
The sophisticated database helps track leads and find links in complex, quickly moving cases.
I'll drop off one that's going to be United States. Okay. Phone, don't answer yet.
That afternoon, Polo's phone rang. He knew to try to get as much information as possible.
Keep them on the phone as long as you can. Go ahead.
Hello.
The caller asked if Polo had the ransom.
The money. No.
Polo said he had about half
Well,
and
yeah.
needed more
No,
time.
the drop is gonna go perfect as scheduled. Jaime?
Jaime came on the phone and
Jaime.
told his brother to hurry. He was bleeding.
Tell your brother stop dragging it out. Tell your brother stop changing plans on us, eh?
Don't worry, we're coming to get you. We're doing everything we can. You're gonna be okay, all right?
You better have it, bro.
Hello? They hung up.
Should help.
While agents and detectives tried to trace the number, the Estradas moved to an adjacent room to wait for more calls. In a kidnapping case, the FBI tries to move deliberately, but not hastily.
And we have a tendency to try to slow things down and work at our pace and try to control. When a victim is shot, now you're dealing with a life and death matter, and every minute, every moment becomes critical.
3 hours later, Polo got another call. Special Agent Kraft was concerned about how Polo would handle it.
These type of situations are extremely stressful to begin with. When you factor in a person who is a relative who loves the victim, cares about the victim, they're going to act on emotions every time, and they can make bad judgments.
But despite the threats to his wounded brother, Polo remained calm. Kidnappers insisted Polo make the ransom drop of the car and cash at a fast food restaurant in Chicago. They said they'd call back with more details.
They hung up.
You never want to introduce a civilian into a high-risk situation.
But agents had no choice. Polo would have to drop the car off himself. But since he would need a ride back home, an undercover agent could pose as a friend to provide at least some protection from Polo.
Escorting you out to the site.
The team left for Chicago. Milwaukee agents called in their counterparts at the Chicago FBI field office. Special Agent Kevin Cassidy would take the lead in that city.
Immediately after that notification from Milwaukee, when we knew the agents were coming, we started to organize our squad. And we knew that this was going to be a fast-moving case where we needed to be able to quickly mobilize our resources.
The drive from Milwaukee would take an hour and a half. That gave Chicago agents time to prepare. Violent Crime Squad Supervisory Special Agent Ron Hosko set up a command post at a local sports arena.
We gathered a number of folks up on the west side of the city by the United Center in a parking lot and briefed everybody on what we understood was the situation with the kidnapping demands.
Everybody's gonna be on.
United Center is centrally located, which gave agents greater flexibility for quickly getting almost anywhere in the city.
The perimeters. Let us know spots that we can set up our team, all right?
As Polo and Special Agent Kraft traveled to the meeting place, Kraft used the time to prepare Polo for how to handle the next call from the kidnappers.
I would coach him and practice with him. I would act as a kidnapper and fire things at him, and I could see how he would react, and I could, make suggestions to him. Well, you don't want to do that, or you want to stay away from certain areas, or draw them out more by asking specific questions.
Polo and Kraft finally arrived at the staging area. Surveillance agents had already checked the fast food restaurant, the site of the ransom drop. The place was far from a controlled environment.
And our concerns were that there was a lot of traffic, foot traffic, pedestrian traffic, not only into the fast food shop, but in the area. And with the threats that we'd already received, we had concerns about our ability to prevent any kind of violent act with respect to the public who might be in that area at the wrong time.
But Paulo and the agents were ready. They had the money and the car.
Yeah. One other thing, don't get out of your vehicle until the SUV is in position. All right?
Paulo got another call. Agents had him try to change the drop site to one that would be safer for everyone. But it was important he did not appear adamant.
The longer we, in effect, negotiate through the victim's brother, the more suspicious the subjects become that there's some law enforcement involvement. Ultimately, the discussions between the victim's brother and the kidnappers resulted in their agreeing to have this exchange at a department store parking lot that was a few miles away from the original location.
The kidnappers ordered Paulo to leave the money in the Monte Carlo with the doors unlocked and the keys in the ignition. Once they had the ransom and were safely away, they would allow Jaime to call Paulo to tell him where he was. Agents left right away to set up at the parking lot. It was an ideal location for protecting the public, but not Paulo. Agents would need to be hidden at a distance around the perimeter. It was Paulo who would have to face the kidnappers up close. But getting his little brother back was worth the risk. In 1996, Chicago agents and detectives were trying to rescue kidnapping victim Jaime Estrada. But the kidnappers would not bring their victim to the site of the ransom drop, according to FBI Special Agent Dan Kraft.
What we generally will try to do is have an exchange, an even exchange, the victim and the money for an even exchange. In this particular case, the kidnappers would not do that. It was not negotiable. It was not something I was very comfortable with, but sometimes you have to bend a little bit to get your ultimate goal.
The kidnappers ordered Jaime's brother Paulo to leave $30,000 in the Estrada brothers' custom Monte Carlo in a deserted parking lot. But the area was not entirely deserted. Surveillance units were hidden nearby, watching. Nearly 27 hours had passed since Jaime was abducted. Almost a full day since he was shot. Since Jaime needed medical attention, agents could not afford the time it might take to follow subjects or risk losing them. So they decided to arrest the kidnappers when the ransom drop was made. Unfortunately, the size of the location chosen by the kidnappers would make the arrest difficult to pull off. FBI Special Agent Ron Hosko.
This was a big, fairly expansive parking lot that was empty. Our vehicles were, from a starting point, on the outside of that lot, trying to maintain a discreet surveillance. So they had a fair amount of open ground that they had to cross to get in there.
Agents planned to counter this problem by attempting to keep the kidnappers off balance.
And they wanted the car left with the keys in the ignition and the doors unlocked. Well, we were going to screw that up a little bit by having the victim's brother lock the doors to the car, because it would end up stunning the kidnappers ever so slightly to where now they will have to regroup, reevaluate the situation, come up with a different plan.
We have 2 subjects in the target vehicle.
After a few minutes, a gray sedan pulled in. It looked like there were 3 men inside.
One of them got out, went over to the car, looked in, could see that the money was sitting on the front seat, so you could almost see him with joy and this desire. And then he goes to open up the door, and he can't get the door open, and the keys to the car are in the vehicle, because he didn't know what to do. So they go from being in control to now they have to react. We wanted to throw them off their game, and it swings the control back over to us.
All units, go, go, go!
The takedown signal was given. All units began to converge. But the suspects reacted instantly.
They immediately accelerated away from us before the other surveillance units had an opportunity to close the net on them.
Someone in the car pointed a gun at an agent, then threw something out of the window.
They were weaving around the responding vehicles, who are properly hesitant to ram that vehicle for any number of good reasons, not the least of which is that the victim could have been in the trunk.
The suspects got on an expressway and tore off toward downtown. Despite the late hour, there was still civilian traffic in danger.
We reached speeds of 120 miles an hour, and the kidnappers were in this stolen vehicle, and they were trying to cause an accident by going from one shoulder across 4 or 5 lanes of traffic all the way over to another shoulder, cutting cars off.
All right, Cherokee, come on up alongside of them. We're going to take them down.
Agents used their training to end the pursuit.
And they were able to execute what we call the pit maneuver, whereby they actually bumped the rear quarter panel. And the vehicle did not lose control completely. It just swerved slightly, but it was enough for the driver to slow down to a much lower speed, and our vehicles basically boxed them in at that point, and they came to a complete stop.
On the highway, agents and detectives surrounded the car. They knew the men inside were armed and dangerous.
We still had great concern about weapons, and while we could have a perimeter, you cannot prevent subjects from doing something you may not expect, like engaging in gunfire.
We removed all of the occupants of the car. We ended up finding 3 subjects in the car.
They all claimed to know nothing about Jaime Estrada and wouldn't even give agents their names. Each had ammunition, but no guns.
Keep them still.
Once they had the 3 men safely in custody, investigators checked to see if anything or anyone was in the trunk. It was empty. Jaime was not with them.
And it was certainly our suspicion that at least one co-conspirator was with Jaime Estrada, that was still holding him, and we needed to identify who that person was and where they were, and do that quickly.
Agents ran the license plate number and searched the rest of the car, and discovered a knife and a night vision rifle scope. They also found several pagers, a cell phone, and a piece of cardboard with Paulo's cell phone number written on it.
Call and record on that.
On the roadside near the start of the pursuit, agents located a loaded 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Likely the object seen thrown from the suspect's car. At the Chicago field office, agents tried to interview each of the suspects individually.
There's a gang after us, man. I see no one.
They refused to cooperate.
Last time you saw a gang with lights and sirens.
During the interviews, the suspect's pagers went off multiple times. Someone was desperately trying to get in touch with them.
Take a look at that number. You know whose number this is.
The men swore they did not recognize the numbers.
Yeah, sure it is. What are you trying to hide? Look at these numbers.
The investigators were sure it was the rest of the group trying to find out what happened. So they tried tracing that number.
But it was an unpublished number, and the phone company would not give us the address. We pleaded with the phone company and promised them that we would give them a subpoena, but it's logistically impossible on a Friday night at 11 o'clock to try to get a judge to sign a court order.
What do I have to do to give you these numbers?
It had been a full day since the teenager was shot. Agents were frustrated that while Jaime was probably dying, a subpoena stood in their way.
I tried to plead, man to man, father to father. I said, what if it was your child? Wouldn't you want law enforcement to do everything humanly possible? And he just basically said, I don't care. We absolutely swore to him that, trust us, with the FBI, we will get you the subpoena.
FBI, could I please speak to a supervisor?
And they said, without a subpoena, we're not going to give you the information.
The night ended with no lead on where Jaime was. The next afternoon, on the city's west side, someone dumped a body. While Chicago investigators struggled to find kidnapping victim Jaime Estrada, passers-by discovered a badly wounded man lying in the street on the city's west side.
Chicago emergency, Okendo.
The Chicago 911 operator took the emergency call and immediately dispatched patrol units and an ambulance. Paramedics advised Illinois Masonic Hospital they were bringing in a man with a gunshot wound. He identified himself as Jaime Estrada. A Cook County Sheriff's investigator arrived at the hospital. The 17-year-old was not only alive, he was still conscious.
Yes.
The investigator asked the doctor in charge if he could talk with Jaime.
Cook County Sheriff's Office, and wanted to know if I could help.
He said Jaime needed immediate surgery, but since the OR was still being prepared, there was time for a quick interview if Jaime agreed.
Okay, just a couple minutes.
He said he could do it.
Can you tell me a little bit about what happened?
Went in a convenience store to get some drinks.
He said 2 nights before, he'd gone to talk to a girl he liked. He didn't know her well. While they were talking, the driver pulled a gun. It happened so quickly. He said it felt like they drove for about 2 hours. Several armed men beat him. He could not ID them. FBI Special Agent Kevin Cassidy
Jaime did not provide any real detail regarding the identifying features of his kidnappers due to the fact he was blindfolded.
Jaime remembered passing 3 toll booths. He told the investigator that about 15 minutes after the 3rd toll booth, the van stopped. The men hustled him into a house or an apartment, he wasn't sure which.
It's your brother, man!
There they roughed him up some more, yelling about the money he owed them for the drugs.
I'll kill you, bro. I'll kill you! Huh?
He tried to tell them they had the wrong guy. That was the wrong thing to say.
You know what I'm saying, man? I'll kill you, bro. I'll kill you! Just give me the number. What's the number, S.A.? Run. Yo, get this guy! Beat him
They
senseless!
demanded the phone numbers to all of his family members.
What?
I got the number. 414-555-7577.
Get this cabron out of here.
The men carefully avoided speaking their own names. But there were others who did.
During the time he was held there, he heard female voices, and he also heard one of those voices refer to a subject as Beto.
Jaime believed it was Beto that guarded him most of the time. Sometime the next morning, Jaime was just getting to sleep. Suddenly,
Beto, ¿qué pasó?
it took him a minute to realize he'd been shot.
Miguel, get them, cállate, cállate.
It even surprised some of the kidnappers. They promptly moved Jaime to a bathroom.
You'll be okay. Cállate, you'll be okay, man.
Golly!
Hey, man, you'll be okay. Hey, man, hey, look, you're gonna be okay, all right? Here. Put this on here. Hold this right here, okay? You're gonna be okay, man.
Go, vente, get the car, bro. Beto, come on, man, get out of here. God, Dios mío, man. He's not gonna be fine. He's gonna be all right, man.
He fell in and out of consciousness, so his memory was fuzzy. He remembered a white tile floor, a red toilet seat, maybe a red shower curtain. That was all. Jaime's gunshot wound had gone untreated for 2 days and was badly infected. He needed so many surgeries that doctors had to put him into a drug-induced coma so he could survive the ordeal. Doctors were surprised at the young man's strength, that he had survived this long. But their prognosis was not good. Several suspects were still at large. Meanwhile, on Newland Avenue in northern Chicago, a resident heard a commotion and saw what looked like 2 armed men forcing 2 others toward a van. The captives broke loose and ran. The Jaime Estrada kidnapping case was about to become much more complicated. The same day, kidnapping victim Jaime Estrada was found. A man in northern Chicago saw what appeared to be a double kidnapping outside his house on Newland Avenue. The victims managed to escape. The resident contacted Chicago police, and emergency operators sent patrol officers to the scene.
Okay, right off of Belmont. All right, stay inside the house. Just letting you know the police are being dispatched as we speak.
I was walking home, and
Dispatch asked the officers to transport the 2 victims to Chicago PD's Area 5.
5 guys.
to be interviewed by FBI Special Agent Kevin Cassidy.
Next thing you know, this van pulled in front of me.
One of them, Pedro Montoya, explained how he'd been abducted. A week earlier, he was outside his house when a van pulled up. Several men jumped out with guns and forced him inside. The other man, Chavo Rodriguez, had the same story.
They were basically grabbed off the street and forcibly put into a blue and white van.
Special Agent Cassidy remembered that Jaime was also kidnapped in a blue and white van. He decided to show Montoya and Rodriguez mugshots of the men arrested in connection with Estrada's abduction.
Both victims immediately responded that those were the same individuals that had kidnapped them.
And there were two others, the armed men they escaped from.
We then started to interview them in greater detail.
They said they were held in the basement of a house with a third man.
All right, just spin them around and put them on the post there.
They were all bound to metal poles. Each of their families were called with demands for ransom money and cars. For more than a week, the kidnappers barely fed the men. A diabetic, Rodriguez was affected most. Without his medication, his blood sugar rose, which could have rendered him unconscious or even killed him. Investigators suspected that Jaime was not the third man. He said he had been held in a bathroom, not a basement. So they showed the men his photo. Investigators were right. It wasn't him.
Did he escape with you at the same time?
They said the day before, the third man managed to escape by breaking through the duct tape that held him.
He freed himself.
They never saw him again and did not know who he was. When the kidnappers realized the third man had escaped, they tried moving Rodriguez and Montoya out of the house. It was then that the men escaped. When asked why they may have been singled out to be kidnapped and held for ransom,
I'll be holding back something.
neither man had an answer.
But consider yourselves lucky that you made it out.
Agents obtained a federal search warrant for the Newland Avenue house where Rodriguez and Montoya were held. They collected duct tape bindings, hairs, clothing fibers, and dozens of fingerprints. The bathroom in the house did not match the description given by Jaime Estrada. Investigators believed he'd been held at a different location. Agents also recovered a Norenko assault rifle from the house.
A firearms expert determined that the bullet that was recovered from Jaime was consistent with one that would have been shot through the Norenko rifle.
In one of the bedrooms, agents found an envelope with a Los Angeles address. Inside were several photographs of a man holding the same Norenko rifle.
We took those photographs and put them into an appropriate photo array. We showed that photo array to several of the victims of the kidnappings, and they identified that as the subject that was involved in their kidnapping.
Now agents had the face of one of the two fugitives, but still no names. Agents then received information from running the kidnappers' license plates.
Our investigation led us to find an address in Chicago that was associated with the vehicle. We then had agents go to that residence.
FBI agents,
Agents spoke to Adalia Francisco. She reluctantly agreed to be interviewed. After persistent questioning, Mrs. Francisco told agents that her husband, Ricardo, was in hiding, having escaped from a band of kidnappers.
They kidnapped your husband?
Yes.
They called here and...
Investigators determined he was the third man held in the Newland Avenue home.
They just won't stop. I don't know what to do with it.
Pressed further, she explained why her husband and the other men were being held.
The last one was the sedan that you're asking.
Further investigation and intensive interviews led us to determine that there was a nexus to illegal drug activity in each one of these individual kidnappings.
Friends of Ricardo Francisco revealed that he was a drug runner. He owed a drug cartel $100,000. Montoya owed $130,000 to the same drug cartel. Rodriguez was not involved in dealing drugs himself. It was his son. But that did not matter to the cartel.
His son had owed some money, and they grabbed the dad. In the case of Jaime Estrada, our investigation did not reveal any involvement in illegal drug activity, and we do not believe he had any.
It seemed the cartel had been duped by the girl who lured Jaime into the van. Informants identified her as Juanita Gonzalez.
The true subject in this case was the girl. She was the one that had ripped off these guys from a kilo of cocaine, and then she tried to save her own hide by laying it off on an innocent person. She just blamed it on Jaime, who was just innocent in all of this.
All Jaime's family could do was pray he'd make it through surgery. But 17-year-old Jaime Estrada could not hold on. Infection eventually killed him. This has now become a case of murder. After conducting extensive interviews in the Newland Avenue neighborhood, agents finally identified the three men already in custody as Salome Varela, Jesus Ruiz, and Miguel Torres. The man in the photograph was identified as Jose de la Paz Sanchez. The final suspect was known only as Beto. They were still at large, wanted not only for kidnapping, but for murder. In 1996, Chicago area investigators captured 3 alleged members of a kidnapping ring that took the life of 17-year-old Jaime Estrada. They still had 3 suspects to find. FBI Special Agent Kevin Cassidy had the name of one of the fugitives, Jose Sanchez. His photo was discovered in an envelope during a crime scene search.
The envelope had an address in Los Angeles. We then surmised that the subject had fled the area, and it would be logical to look for him in Los Angeles. We obtained an arrest warrant, and we forwarded that information to our Los Angeles office.
In LA, FBI Special Agent Scott Hanley set out to apprehend Sanchez.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks. Good luck to you.
We went out to the location, which was a house in the Echo Park area of Los Angeles. After we'd been on the house for over 3 hours, one of the team observed a male Hispanic individual walk out of the house. But at that time, because of the distance away from him, we couldn't tell if it was Mr. Sanchez or not. We were able to follow him for approximately about a half hour on 3 different freeways in Los Angeles till he finally went to the West Los Angeles area.
The man parked outside a home improvement store. Even with a photograph of the suspect, they still could not tell if it was Sanchez.
If you've never met the person before and all you have is a photograph, you're trying to look at a real person to match it up with a photograph, and who knows how old that can be.
From the photo, they knew Sanchez had a Grim Reaper tattoo on his right upper arm.
One of the officers went in on foot to try to get a closer look of the individual. He followed this person in the store. I saw this tattoo of the Grim Reaper.
It was a positive ID. Agents were getting closer to nabbing the fourth suspect in Jaime Estrada's kidnapping and murder. In the end, it was surprisingly simple. Sanchez had been handcuffed before he realized what was happening. He was unarmed and arrested without incident. Sanchez confessed to taking part in Jaime Estrada's kidnapping and was present after Jaime had been shot.
When Mr. Sanchez admitted that he knew that Mr. Estrada had been shot, I asked him, well, you know, what was the condition of the boy? And he said, well, you know, he was talking to us, and I said, well, what did he ask? And he said, well, he asked, can I take him to the hospital? And I said, well, why didn't you do that? And he said, well, I didn't know what to do.
He also admitted to the other kidnappings and said they had been ordered by a drug cartel as a way to collect money owed to them.
Request that your lawyer be present before you answer any further questions.
Chicago investigators then began to intensify their search for the man known only as Beto. They conducted dozens of interviews with associates of the three men already in custody. They revealed that Beto had a sister, Monique Jimenez. Facing accessory charges, she cooperated.
Do you know anybody named Beto?
She said Beto's real name was Luis Carreno.
Have you been back?
The sister was able to describe some of the circumstances of Jaime's kidnapping, particularly the shooting. She advised that she was in the apartment at the time and had heard the shot and saw Jaime shot. And she advised that the person that shot him was in fact her brother.
There was blood there, so I had to go back.
She said she had cleaned blood off the bathroom floor with bleach. She gave the FBI the address of the apartment.
Yes, it's 2532 Moody Avenue.
An evidence response team processed the apartment, collecting samples, including the grout between the bathroom floor tiles. Lab examiners later discovered traces of blood in the grout. DNA testing proved the blood was Jaime's. In October 1997, federal prosecutors in Chicago tied the complex case together for a jury. The four suspects in custody, Salome Varela, Jesus Ruiz, Miguel Torres, and Jose Sanchez, were found guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, weapons violations, assault charges, and all four kidnappings. They were all sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The FBI tracked Juanita Gonzalez, the girl responsible for Jaime's abduction, to Mexico, where she completely disappeared. They are still looking for fugitive Luis Carreno, the man known as Beto.
He is currently wanted, and there's an outstanding arrest warrant for him. And we are working with Interpol and our other friends in foreign countries to attempt to locate him to this day, and we will continue to do so.
The Estradas pray that someday soon, the authorities will find Carreno, the man the FBI suspects killed Jaime. For the family and for the investigators who worked so hard to save Jaime, the case will never be over until everyone responsible for his death is brought to justice. In Washington, D.C., a notorious drug gang threatens an entire neighborhood. Witnesses are intimidated or killed. Even as the police and the FBI build a case against the killers, the body count continues to climb. Drug sales skyrocket as a neighborhood becomes a virtual war zone. Now the FBI must find the key to destroying a deadly gang known throughout the city as the K Street Crew.
In the 1990s, the war on drugs was in full swing. The front lines were often America's inner cities, where gangs used violence and murder to rule their empires. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. When gang violence exploded in Washington, D.C., the Metro Police and the FBI fought back. Using high-tech surveillance and tough new laws, they set out to destroy the gangs from the inside out.
Washington, D.C. In this city of monuments and museums lies the heart of American justice. The Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But even our nation's capital is not immune to crime. March 22nd, 1991. 20-year-old Wendy York returns home after running errands.
Teresa!
She shares an apartment with her cousins, Tarita and Teresa Lucas. Teresa is in the living room, lying on the couch. Her face is covered with blood.
Oh my God!
Wendy runs from the apartment and calls 911. An emergency dispatcher directs units to the scene. DC Metro Police arrive at the apartment within minutes. Teresa Lucas has been shot through the head. In a back bedroom, they find another body and a child. The second victim is Teresa's sister, Tarita. She's also been shot in the head. Her child is unharmed. Police discover another baby, terrified but also unharmed. It's Teresa's child. It seems both children have been alone with the bodies for hours. A short time later, the victim's mother arrives at the apartment. Renee Brown finds the building surrounded by police.
My mind was racing and I was trying to get in. The police were holding me back. They said, you can't get in. I said, this is my house. I have to go in. That was the most horrific day of my life. I will never forget it. They were very devoted and dedicated mothers. They loved their kids and they didn't deserve to die.
Crime scene investigators process the apartment. They find no signs of forced entry. Nothing in the apartment appears to be disturbed. No valuables have been taken. There is nothing that suggests a motive for the brutal slaying. Detectives suspect the victims knew their killer.
Nothing in the bathroom there. Let's take a look.
Detectives ask Renee Brown to check the apartment.
Please look around and see if you see anything.
The grieving mother is willing to do anything she can to help. Renee notices something missing from Teresa's bedroom.
The first thing I noticed was that a poster-sized picture that was there the previous night had disappeared from off the wall.
A frame is found, but a photo of Teresa's boyfriend, Sam Carson, is gone.
And I told the detective then, I said, I wonder where that picture is. And we looked in the trash in the back, and it was nowhere in the trash. So I said, whoever has that picture is the murderer.
Police contact Sam Carson to ask him a few questions. He denies being in the apartment the night the two women were murdered.
Do you know that your girlfriend was killed last night?
Although Carson is a likely suspect, police have no physical evidence to tie him to the murders.
Like, where were you last night? You think you come in?
Detectives interview people in the neighborhood. Although gunshots were fired in the Lucas apartment, neighbors claim they heard nothing.
Did you happen to know the women?
No.
2 young women have died, and yet nobody is willing to talk about it. The double homicide catches the attention of law enforcement across the district, including the FBI. Special Agent Vince Lissy is shocked by the brutality of the crime.
Right here. We got the photos they've got from Craig.
Agent Lissy often works undercover and must protect his identity.
It was horrific. The police had very few leads to go on. They struggled and struggled with the investigation for some time, but there were no real witnesses to it.
Without a witness, police cannot identify a suspect. Without a motive, they cannot catch the Lucas girl's killer. And without evidence, the double homicide will become a statistic. Yet another unsolved murder in a city plagued by violence. The epicenter of that violence is Greenleaf Gardens, a housing project on K Street. The drug trade has reduced the neighborhood to chaos, according to Detective Steve Kirshner.
Crack cocaine hit this city hard in '85, '86. Along with that came a lot of violence. The homicide rate went sky high. I believe it started out mostly from jealousy of who was making the most money. There were kidnappings, assaults, just led to a very violent area.
Buyers, many of them from the suburbs, made the dealers on K Street rich. The area provided few economic opportunities, so the lure of easy money proved a powerful recruiting tool.
It was a huge moneymaker for him, and it was pretty hard to tell a 14 or 15-year-old kid, hey, listen, go to school, do all the right things, whenever they can go out on the street, sell crack and make $1,000 a day. They could buy all the things that they didn't have before because they lived in an impoverished home.
With millions of dollars in easy profits at stake, competition between dealers grew fierce. Streets became borders as gangs battled over sales turf. The neighborhood was a powder keg, according to Metro Homicide Detective Tony Brigadini.
The area was deadly. Numbers that we have compiled over the years of the investigation show that this was probably one of the most deadly areas in the District of Columbia. It's very close to some of the government buildings in Southwest Washington, which was interesting in that there's an incredible amount of crime going on in a small area so close to a downtown business district.
The FBI and DC Metro Police formed the Safe Streets Task Force. Their job is to clean up a neighborhood that has become a war zone. Agents canvassed the streets, looking for information on the gangs. Residents are too afraid to talk or even be seen speaking with investigators.
If you walk up to somebody's door and you knock on their door and ask to speak to them, in about 3 minutes, everybody in that neighborhood is going to know that the police are there.
Frustrated by the lack of cooperation, agents try a different approach.
Sometimes we follow people to work. We try to get them away from a neighborhood. We try to do whatever we can so that the people in the neighborhood don't know they're witnesses.
Slowly, the residents open up. They talk about drug dealers who have taken over the neighborhood. The K Street Crew. The gang is led by Vincent Hill, a ruthless sociopath who seems to thrive on violence.
If somebody came up and irritated him for any reason whatsoever, he had no problem grabbing a baseball bat, a hammer, anything he could, and hit them with it.
Hill's money and his brutality make him the most powerful man in the neighborhood, according to Metro Detective Neil Trugman.
He compared himself to a big-time mob figure.
there was no fear.
According to FBI sources, Vincent Hill runs the K Street crew with an iron fist. Still, gang members respect him.
Vincent Hill had a reputation for being a bully, but at the same time, others looked up to him because they saw that he had money, he had nice clothes, he had fancy cars. While he's manipulating them into selling drugs, they would see him beat somebody up for not giving him enough money. So all of these things kind of led the others to look to him as somebody that you didn't want to mess with, you didn't want to challenge, but at the same time, he was a way that they could make money.
The distribution of crack cocaine carries severe penalties. A conviction could get Vincent Hill and his crew off the streets permanently. Agents launch an investigation into the gang's crack dealing. But Hill's group is already one step ahead. Before the FBI can bust the K Street crew on cocaine charges, the gang suddenly shifts to selling marijuana.
They realized when they were selling crack cocaine, you're looking at stiff time. Selling marijuana was a misdemeanor. More than likely, you wouldn't get any time for it.
The demand is huge. Buyers pour in from the suburbs. The gang maintains its profits, minimizing the risk of jail time.
It just took off like a rocket. Everybody was making money. People were making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a day just by selling marijuana.
Thwarted by the gang's move, the task force regroups as the dealers grow even bolder.
I would drive by in unmarked cars, and they would hold bags of marijuana up, 3 for 20, 3 for 20. And then when they finally got close enough to realize they were a cop, they would run.
The dealers simply abandon their stashes until the cops leave. Minutes later, the dealers return to the exact same spot with a new stash and set up shop again. As business expands, the violence escalates, sometimes involving innocent victims. On August 29, 1992, Travis Ross and 2 friends are mistaken for rival drug dealers. Ross is killed instantly. Both of his friends are critically wounded. Police interview the survivors. They say they have no idea who shot them or why. Their reluctance to answer questions is understandable. Police believe the K Street crew has already murdered a dozen people who cooperated with authorities. What they don't know is how the gang is able to identify these potential witnesses. In 1995, Bruce Spencer is shot 5 times at point-blank range by a K Street crew member. Somehow he survives. He is willing to identify the man who shot him. The task force immediately places Spencer in protective custody. He is registered at a DC hospital under the name John Doe. While Spencer recuperates, Agent Lissy and other investigators scour Greenleaf Gardens looking for the men who tried to kill him. On K Street, Agent Lissy and Detective Trugman find themselves face to face with Vincent Hill, the gang's notorious leader.
I said, look, all your witnesses are going to die, every one. Even your buddy who's in the hospital under the name John Doe, in room, and he told me exactly what room it was. And I shook my head as if I didn't know what he's talking about, but I knew exactly what he was talking about. They wanted to let us know that it was their business to locate witnesses and silence them.
In Investigators are even more determined to protect their witness. But word of Hill's threat reaches Spencer. Fearing for his life, the witness refuses to help investigators.
Everything's working out. Come on, it's not.
The task force is frustrated, having lost another battle in their war against the K Street crew. In the 1990s, Greenleaf Gardens in the southwest section of Washington, D.C., is a neighborhood under siege. A gang calling itself the K Street Crew has claimed the housing project as its base of operations and turned it into a killing zone. Metro Police, working closely with the FBI, struggle to link the gang to a rash of killings. Investigators know it will take more than individual murder convictions to stop the widespread violence. They need a strategy that will take down the entire gang. The Joint Task Force decides to use RICO, a federal racketeering statute that will allow them to prosecute the K Street Crew as a single, corrupt organization that sells drugs and commits murder to protect their interests. Homicide detectives re-examine dozens of cold cases. Cases that were once attributed to the random violence of the projects. They search for anything that will link the K Street Crew to murder, according to Detective Tony Brigadini.
Some of the cases that we were investigating were 8 years old, 10 years old. We would have to go back and research case jackets, try to find evidence that had been collected 8 or 10 years earlier, try to locate crime scene photographs, things of that nature.
Yeah, here it is. See this car? Is that the same car?
So, in trying to build a strong case, we were dealing with very little information.
In the meantime, agents launch a covert surveillance operation to gather evidence on the gang's growing drug business. Special Agent Vince Lissy.
We wanted to show the conspiratorial nature of these guys, how they operated on the street, how they took turns selling drugs, who supplied who. And we thought that if we could have undercovers introduced to the group, that we could accomplish this.
FBI agents set up a stakeout in an apartment overlooking K Street. The landlord offers it to them free of charge. Like most of the residents of Greenleaf Gardens, he's sick of the drugs and the violence.
We got some camera equipment, video, and still photos, and we would sit up there and watch them and try to get the people on K Street's patterns down. We would see Vincent Hill out there and see how he operated.
Investigators watch the area for weeks. Once they've established the gang's patterns, they develop a plan. Most of the drug transactions on K Street are conducted with buyers in cars. To get closer to the dealers, they'll need a vehicle.
We decided the best approach was to use a pickup truck. We got the oldest, dirtiest pickup truck the FBI had. We bought some toolboxes and put toolboxes on the back of the truck to make it look like a construction truck.
The truck is rigged with surveillance cameras and microphones. Two Metro investigators, Joe Abdallah and Jim Scheider, are recruited from another precinct. As outsiders, they will not be recognized by gang members. They will pose as construction workers to make drug buys. Metro investigator Joe Abdallah.
So me and Jimmy had it prearranged. If I was in any trouble or I felt my safety was in jeopardy, I was going to run for that truck, and depending on the situation, Jimmy was going to take off with me jumping in the back of that truck, or he would get out with his firearm.
The main target of the surveillance operation is Vincent Hill. The undercover officers expect they will have to make several buys before they can make contact with the gang leader. 5 cars carrying 2-man teams form a perimeter around the neighborhood. They stand by on their radios, awaiting Lissy's orders.
had all this in place. We had the cars situated throughout the neighborhood. And we said, okay, let's go, let's try it.
As the officers attempt their first undercover buy, Jim Scheider knows he is heading into dangerous territory.
As soon as we turned the corner, my heart started racing. We knew that there was no turning back at that point.
Abdallah and Scheider look for a dealer, any dealer, to buy from. Then on a street corner, they spot Vincent Hill, flanked by his lieutenants. The K Street crew is out in force.
What y'all need? I gotta get a couple bags.
Abdallah doesn't think twice. He gets out of the truck.
And I'd asked if I could get 2 bags for $40, which meant 2 bags of marijuana, which were $50, but if I could, I'd get them for $40 a piece. An individual to my left side ran to go get them from a stash, which was on the fence line. And Vincent Hill said, no, you'll take 2 for $50. I put the money down, and then I walked away.
The surveillance team documents the entire transaction. They now have the leader of the K Street crew on videotape, personally selling marijuana to undercover officers.
Joe bought from Vincent Hill the first time, and we said, wow, this is too easy. Within 30 seconds, the deal was done. Jim and Joe rolled back to the office, and we were just amazed.
The task force has been prepared to wait weeks, even months, to make contact with Hill. But it happened in less than a minute. The FBI presses their advantage. Over the next 6 months, they continue to buy marijuana directly from Hill, gradually increasing the quantity. Each time, the sale is carefully photographed.
He was there. He never touched the drugs.
Through the undercover buys, investigators discover that Hill controls everything that happens on the block. This becomes clear when Abdallah and Scheider try to make a purchase from someone other than Hill.
And we were getting ready to make a purchase. And there was someone hollering down the street. When we looked back, it was Vincent Hill. We went back down into the block, met with Vincent Hill and bought from him. And I think he had that kind of power in that block.
For months, the buys go on like clockwork. Abdallah is doing more than making purchases. He's building a relationship. Slowly, he gains Hill's trust and tries to get information.
I tried to get any conversations I could from him. And there were times when I'd try and draw a conversation from him where he would say, look, if the police come in the block, I have a place to run to, you don't. So tell me what you need, let's get it over with. And there were also times when I had a conversation with him about setting up weight purchases, or more than the $20 bag, what we would call wholesale quantities, like quarter pounds.
Abdallah begins buying in bulk, moving from ounces to pounds. He tells Hill he is selling marijuana at the construction site where he works.
There were occasions when he would actually front me drugs, which would mean he'd give them to me for free for payment at a later date. We had that kind of trust. And he even gave me good advice on when buying the weight. He would supply me with the smaller $20 bags. He gave me packages of those at some points, and he would tell me how to juggle it, or break it down and sell it in the quantities to my friends. And he gave me helpful hints on how to do that.
For 6 months, the operation runs smoothly. Then, a routine buy puts everyone on guard.
At one point when I made a buy from him, I got back into the truck and Jimmy was driving and I was in the passenger seat, and Jimmy said, hey, he's waving at you. And he was motioning like to roll the window down. So I rolled the window down and he said, hey, look, these guys over here, they're saying that your buddy's a police officer. He said, I know you're okay, but he said, those guys over there will kill you.
Tell me what's going on, please.
Yo, I know y'all can't play me like that, right?
And it threw us off a little bit, and then when we started to leave, the guys that he was pointing to had like hoods over their faces and put their heads away from us.
It does not appear to Abdallah and Scheider that Hill suspects they are cops. So they continue the operation. A week later, the two detectives pull into K Street. Vincent Hill is there.
Hill was cold to me, didn't want anything to do with me. He said he didn't know where they sold marijuana, didn't know what I was talking about. And it was very confusing because even when he was angry and sold, he was just in a hurry. He'd say, "What do you need? Hurry up and get out of here." But on this day, he's like, "I don't have anything. I don't know what you're talking about. You can go somewhere else."
Hill sends them to another dealer down the block. That night, Abdallah meets the dealer in an abandoned house. The officer prepares for a confrontation.
The gentleman walked into a vacant house, called me in.
Safe up here.
The gentleman tried to give me like a sandwich baggie full of lawnmower clippings. It wasn't real marijuana. So it was that point, we knew something was wrong.
Abdallah knows their cover is blown. With backup cars at least 2 minutes away, he slowly talks his way out of the building. The undercover operation is over. After 6 months of drug buys, the task force still does not have enough evidence to put Vincent Hill and his gang in prison once and for all.
Had we charged him with the drug conspiracy alone, it might have gotten them 10 years, maybe 5 years. And what's even worse, they wouldn't have been held accountable for all the violent crimes they committed. So we still needed to investigate the murders and the robberies and the kidnappings and all the violent crimes that were associated with that group.
Investigators still have a lot of work to do. In the meantime, the streets rage with violence. In Washington, D.C., a lengthy undercover operation has begun to produce results. Investigators have videotaped the infamous K Street crew selling drugs. But now, they must find evidence of the gang's more violent activities. In 1995, a brave young woman steps forward.
So what would you like to call
Chrissy Gladden is 19 years old.
that you can share with us?
As a single mother, she is worried about her neighborhood.
We know you're scared. He's a scary.
Chrissy tells police that Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are responsible for a drive-by shooting. She overheard Martin talking about it. Although she doesn't know the victim's name, her description of the crime leads investigators to an unsolved murder. 6 months earlier, Travis Ross had been killed in a drive-by shooting near K Street. Two of his friends were critically wounded. Chrissy wants to testify against the gang. She knows they are the reason her neighborhood is so dangerous.
Overheard a conversation between Jerome.
Still, she's afraid. She tells investigators that if she speaks out against the K Street crew, they will kill her. Chrissy Gladden and 2 other women finally agree to testify, but only if the FBI places them in the Witness Protection Program. Special Agent Vince Lissy.
We finally convinced Chrissy, as well as these other female witnesses, that we would work with them. We would try to keep them safe and make sure nothing happened to them. We stressed upon them not to tell people where they lived, not to take people to their new apartments.
Chrissy's cooperation pays off. Crew members Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are indicted for murder.
Slide up to your bicep.
Lissy believes they have enough evidence to get a conviction. Even though one witness is recanted, 2 others, including Chrissy, are still willing to testify.
It's not a big deal.
The week before the trial of Jerome Martin, we were constantly re-interviewing witnesses, talking to them, getting them ready to testify. We want them to know what questions they're going to be asked if they take the stand to testify. And the week before, we had Chrissy in the U.S. Attorney's office. We got her ready. She pretty much knew what was going to be expected of her. She wasn't an eyewitness to the murder, but she did fill in certain gaps.
4 days before the start of the murder trial, Vince Lissy receives a call from one of the witnesses.
I'll set it up. She was frantic, screaming, crying, telling me, they killed Christy, Christy's dead. And I couldn't believe it. And then whenever I realized what she was talking about, it was like somebody punched me in the stomach.
Agent Lissy drives over to the Southwest District. At the crime scene, Metro Police tell him what happened. According to witnesses, Chrissy attended a party on 37th Street at the home of Antonio Knight's girlfriend. As she left the party, 2 gunmen appeared and opened fire. By the time police arrived, Chrissy was already dead. Not surprisingly, investigators are unable to find a single witness willing to identify Chrissy's killers. The message from the K Street crew is clear. Talking to the police is a death sentence.
Chrissy thought that everything was fine. She trusted her friends, she trusted the people in that neighborhood, thought she could go back there and nothing was going to happen. That was probably the worst I've ever felt in this job. It's hard. It's hard to keep going sometimes when that happens.
Still, the task force pursues their case against Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight. The trial is a disaster.
The case had lingered in the system so long in D.C., we said, we got to go. And we went forward with it, and we did the best we could. Some witnesses were just physically unable to testify. They were just distraught. But you know, we went forward and we lost.
Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are acquitted due to lack of evidence. To the K Street crew, witnesses like Chrissy Gladden are a minor inconvenience.
It was really something to see these guys go free. And at that point, they won the battle. They were happy, they won the battle. And I told myself, you can't sit back and let them continue to win these battles.
Chrissy Gladden's death and the acquittal of Martin and Knight are major blows to the investigation. The task force refuses to give up. Somehow, they will find a way to bring the K Street crew to justice. In Washington, D.C., the K Street crew is terrorizing a neighborhood with drugs and violence. Investigators spent months working with 19-year-old witness Chrissy Gladden, who agreed to testify against them. On October 5th, she was gunned down outside a party. Even without witnesses, Detective Steve Kirshner is determined to find her killers.
We stayed on it, trying to find a break in that case, and we did everything we could. We printed up flyers, offered a reward. It really crushed the investigators on the case, especially Vince.
It's horrible. It's just, you know, part of you says, what more can I do? That's it. You want to wave the white flag. But the other part of you says, wait a minute, I'm not going to give up. You know, I'm not going to give in to their ways of justice. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
Less than a month later, the FBI and D.C. police get an unexpected break in the case. Robert Butchie Smith, a senior K Street crew member, is arrested for drug dealing. In an effort to get Smith to talk about the gang, the FBI tells him he faces federal racketeering charges. They're building a RICO case that will tie the gang's drug business to a series of murders. The tactic works. Smith finally agrees to talk.
Tell us what you know.
Smith reveals that the gang uses private investigators to identify people willing to testify against them. They also use the Freedom of Information Act to obtain court documents to target potential witnesses. Smith gives investigators leads on several unsolved kidnappings, shootings, and murders, according to Metro Detective Tony Brigadini.
He had very specific, protected information of the crimes and the business dealings that the members of the K Street crew participated in.
Smith specifically mentions a triple homicide that his nephew, William Sweeney, told him about. Sweeney, along with Sam Carson and James Montgomery, are fellow members of the K Street crew. Smith said Sweeney and Carson were in Las Vegas when Ryan Pierce, another drug dealer, won big at the tables. The two men decided to rob Pierce when he returned to D.C. On November 17th, 1996, Sweeney, Carson, and James Montgomery waited outside his home. Pierce arrived late that night, along with 3 friends. The K Street crew made their move.
What's up, man? What's this, man? Where the money at? No, where money? Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Get over here.
Pierce told the gunman he had already put his winnings in the bank. There was no cash in the house.
Man, this is crazy, man. I don't have no money in, man. Wait.
Sweeney killed both men. One woman tried to flee, was shot to death. Another woman managed to hide until the killers left.
Get out here, my son. Get out here.
According to Butchie Smith, the K Street crew usually kills people in response to a threat. But Pierce's murder was different. This time, it was all about greed.
My nephew, Sweeney.
Investigators hope that Smith's inside information is the break they need to finally bring down the gang.
At that point, then we knew, okay, now we can start to get the framework of an indictment ready so that we could go and start to prepare charges against these guys for crimes other than the drugs.
Smith agrees to become an FBI informant in exchange for a reduced sentence. It's a risky decision.
I'm dead. I'm done.
If anyone finds out he's talking to authorities, Vincent Hill will have him killed. Technicians analyze a single fingerprint found on a screen door at the murder scene. It matches Sweeney's prints, corroborating Butchie's story.
What also helped us was we got William Sweeney's cellular telephone records. And some of the people working the case began to go and investigate that. And they contacted the cell phone company and found out that the cell phone was used near the scene of the triple murder at the time of the murder.
Investigators moved quickly to neutralize Sweeney. In April 1997, he is arrested on unrelated charges. While awaiting trial in jail, Sweeney receives a copy of his own arrest warrant from his attorney. An unnamed source is listed as an informant against him. 2 months later, just when it looks like the task force is about to put an end to the gang's operation, Robert Butchie Smith is gunned down in broad daylight. The FBI informant has been shot a total of 13 times, mostly in the head.
When Butchie got killed, it brought back all these feelings and the memories, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to keep going sometimes when that happens. Much like Chrissy's murder, there were no leads, Although many people were out on the street and saw it that day, nobody would come forward, nobody talked.
Butchie Smith's murder threatens to unravel the case against the K Street crew. Investigators have lost their only informant. The brutal killing scares away other potential witnesses.
After Butchie's murder, we sat around looking at each other like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? It really took a lot of the wind out of our sail. We had to figure out how we can continue with the investigation. Where were we going to go? We thought, okay, we can follow up with the leads Butchie gave us, but still, we needed somebody on the inside, and we no longer had Butchie to give it to us. We had to gather around and tell ourselves, we can't let this get us down. We can't stop.
In 1997, the FBI's case against the notorious K Street crew was in trouble. Their only informant had been murdered, gunned down in cold blood. Other potential witnesses are terrified they'll meet the same fate. Before he was killed, FBI informant Butchie Smith told investigators that James Montgomery was one of the men responsible for a triple homicide. Montgomery is arrested and brought in for questioning.
Mr. Montgomery, interesting. You got like...
Special Agent Vince Lissy pressures the suspect to talk about the triple homicide and the rest of the gang's crimes. Montgomery is already facing a long prison term for the murders.
You want to tell me about anything?
In the end, he decides to cooperate. Montgomery admits his role in the triple homicide. He also confesses to 7 murders, including that of cooperating witness Chrissy Gladden. Lissy presses for more leads on crimes committed by the gang. Montgomery reveals that crew member Sam Carson killed informant Butchie Smith.
What else you know about Carson?
Then he drops a bombshell.
He told me, do you remember when the 2 girls got killed? And I asked him, which 2 girls? And he said, the ones back in the early 90s. I knew exactly what he meant.
Montgomery is referring to the unsolved murders of Teresa and Tarita Lucas.
And he began to tell me about it, and I just couldn't believe it.
I just want to come in and talk to you for 1 or 2 minutes.
According to Montgomery, Sam Carson had stashed a bag of guns at the home of his girlfriend, Teresa Lucas. When he asked her to return the guns, Teresa claimed she didn't have them. She didn't want them around her children, so she threw them away.
Can I use the bathroom real quick?
Carson was furious. He decided to confront Teresa one final time. Carson hid his handgun in the bathroom. He tried to calm Teresa's fears by showing her he was unarmed.
You know what this is about. I want my guns, Teresa.
He began again to ask her, where's my gun? I need my gun. Where did you put it?
No, nobody has them. Sam, I just literally I want them right now. No, Sam, in the house. I want my guns.
And she gave him an answer that wasn't satisfactory.
All right, you want me to go? Just go. You want me to go, right? I get out.
He went back to the bathroom, retrieved his gun.
That's the wrong person, Teresa. Sam!
Killed her. Sam walked into the bedroom, and as Tarita was waking up and starting to sit up in bed, he shot and killed her.
According to Montgomery, Carson got rid of any evidence that linked him to the crime scene.
Took his time. When he was satisfied that he had removed any photos, wiped all his fingerprints, he walked from the apartment, got in the car, and left.
Investigators asked Montgomery how the crew had discovered the identities of 2 undercover police officers, Joe Abdallah and Jim Scheider. Montgomery admits that someone from the other side of town recognized them as law enforcement and told Vincent Hill.
No, there was this girl.
Although Hill didn't believe it at first, he soon became suspicious, according to investigator Joe Abdallah.
On a subsequent buy we made after that day, they followed us in the truck as we left and followed us back to the FBI building where was our meeting spot after the buys took place. And that's the date they quit selling to us.
Lissy isn't taking any chances with this witness. He decides to move Montgomery out of state for his own protection. In the fall of 1997, Montgomery pleads guilty to 7 murders. As part of the plea agreement, the court seals details of his sentence and whereabouts.
FBI, I have a warrant for your arrest. Put your hands on your head now.
Police arrest Sam Carson and charge him with the murder of Teresa and Tarita Lucas. William Sweeney, already in jail on unrelated charges, is indicted for the triple homicide. With Montgomery safely hidden, law enforcement begins to dismantle the K Street crew's infrastructure. Jerome Martin, Sean Coates, and gang leader Vincent Hill are arrested in the summer of 1998. A federal indictment charges the gang with 13 murders, 87 counts of racketeering, drug distribution, kidnappings, and robberies. A federal judge permits recorded testimony from Chrissy Gladden and Robert Butchie Smith to be introduced at trial. Even in death, the gang's victims point a finger at their killers. In 2001, every gang member charged with murder is convicted. They receive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Gang members not accused of murder plead guilty to charges ranging from kidnapping to drug trafficking.
There's no doubt in my mind that if these guys stayed on the street, they would have continued doing what they were doing. That was their life. They knew how to sell drugs, how to rob people, how to kill people.
Thanks to the tireless efforts of both the FBI and DC Metro Police, K Street is now a safer place to live.